All right, let's talk about something that affects pretty much every single operation out there. We rely on these massive, complex data systems for everything, right? Planning maintenance, managing our finances, the whole nine yards. But what if the system you trust to be your single source of truth isn't actually telling you the truth? I mean, let's just put it out there. What if your system is lying to you? Not in some kind of evil sci fi way, but simply because it's out of date. It's a pretty scary thought, isn't it? But you know what? This exact problem is at the root of so many issues we see in the field. And this is not some weird once in a blue moon thing. Nope, it happens all the time. The second your master data, that core record of what your assets actually are, gets out of sync with what's physically out there, you start making decisions based on fiction instead of fact. And the fallout from that, it's real and it's expensive. You're ordering the wrong parts, which means more downtime. You're accidentally voiding warranties because your installation dates are wrong. Your financial reports, suddenly, they're not so reliable. And then the auditors show up and start finding what we call ghost assets, equipment you're paying to maintain and insure that doesn't even exist anymore. Yikes. So let's talk about that. The problem with ghost assets. It sounds dramatic, but it's the perfect way to describe what happens when your data and reality get a divorce. Just so we're all on the same page, when we say asset master data, we're talking about the absolute bedrock. This isn't about daily work orders. This is the asset's DNA in your system, its unique ID, its model, its location, everything that defines what that thing is. It is supposed to be the one rock-solid source of truth. Okay, so how do we stop our data from slowly drifting into fantasy? Well, the answer isn't doing these giant, painful data cleanup projects every couple of years. The real solution is to build an early warning system, and that system is all about recognizing something called a data trigger. So what is a trigger? It's really simple. A trigger is just an event. It's anything that happens in the real world that should make you pause and ask, hey, did this change something? Do we need to update our records? It's the little alarm bell that tells you it's time for a quick data checkup to make sure everything still matches. And figuring out if something is a trigger is actually super easy. You just have to get in a habit of asking these simple questions. Did something physically change out there? Did a component get replaced? Did an auditor find something weird? Basically, does the system no longer match reality? If you can answer yes to any of those, boom, that's a trigger. Okay, so we know what they are, but where do you actually find these triggers? Are they hiding? Not at all. In fact, they're happening all around you every single day, right in the middle of your normal operations. And you can pretty much lump them into two big categories. On one hand, you've got your operational triggers. These are the ones your technicians and field staff bump into during their day-to-day work. And on the other hand, you have the business and life cycle triggers. These are tied to bigger picture events, audits, big projects, financial changes, that sort of thing. So here's a perfect example of an operational trigger. Your tech is out there working on an HVAC unit. The work order says it's serial number 123, but they look at the actual nameplate on the machine and it says ABC. That mismatch right there, that's the trigger. It's a critical signal to fix the data before that error causes even more problems down the line. Here's another one that happens all the time, a replacement in kind. A pump fails. You grab an identical one from the storeroom and swap it out. Seems easy, right? But this is a huge trigger that people miss. You have got to update the installation date for the new pump, update its warranty info, and, just as importantly, change the status of the old one you just pulled out. Then you've got these bigger business triggers, things like bringing a brand new asset online, officially retiring an old one, or conducting a formal audit. Even an organizational change, like two departments merging, is a trigger. All of these events have to have a formal step where you ask, okay, how does this affect our asset master data? And I really want to double click on that replacement in kind example, because failing to update the data after a simple component swap is, without a doubt, the number one most common error we see. It seems so small, but it is a massive, massive cause of data inaccuracy over time. So this all probably makes sense, but it brings up a really important question. Whose job is it to actually make these updates? Who owns this process? The answer might surprise you. It's not just one person. It's a shared responsibility. Look, everybody has a part to play here. Your technicians are on the front lines, and yeah, they're going to find most of the day-to-day triggers. But planners, supervisors, finance folks, auditors, asset admins, they are all part of this ecosystem. Everyone has a role in either spotting these triggers or making sure they get handled. It's really a team sport. A tool like a RACI chart is perfect for making this crystal clear. It spells out who is responsible, who is accountable, who needs to be consulted, and who just needs to be informed for each type of trigger. So for a work order issue, the technician might be responsible for flagging it, but maybe the planner is ultimately accountable for making sure it gets fixed in the system. The main thing is, having this clarity means a trigger actually leads to action, instead of just getting lost in a spreadsheet somewhere. And when you start putting all these pieces together, recognizing triggers, defining roles, what you're really doing is making a fundamental shift. You're moving from a reactive mindset to one of proactive excellence. And that difference is night and day. The old way is just waiting for your data to become a complete mess and then launching a huge, expensive project to clean it all up. The new way is about continuous, small course corrections every time you spot a trigger. It's about seeing your field teams not just as people who fix things, but as essential data stewards who keep your entire organization running on facts, not guesswork. So, if we boil it all down, it comes to these key principles. Number one, triggers are not random accidents. They are predictable events you can plan for. Two, your field teams are your most valuable data stewards. Empower them. Three, major life cycle events, like installations or retirements, need formal data checkpoints built right in. And four, always make sure big business changes flow down to your asset records. This quote right here really nails it. Master data accuracy isn't a one-and-done project. It's something you have to sustain, and you do that with two things: constantly being on the lookout for triggers and having the discipline to act on them every single time. So I'm going to leave you with one final question to think about when you go back to your own operations. Think about that HVAC unit or that pump that got swapped out. What's the real cost in wasted time, in wasted money, and in operational risk of your next missed trigger?